This is HBR News number 509. New York is cooked. Men more likely to open up to AI than humans. Where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Let me slow down. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you're doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I'm your host, Brian, and I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Hannah Wallen and Dr. Renner McCann. On today's HBR News, we're going to be discussing it's a crazy story of a schoolgirl plot to kill a classmate. New York's fate appears to be sealed. Men are seeking AI for therapy instead of human therapists and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So on this patron show, I don't go to Reddit. I don't advise it. I don't recommend it. I don't normally do this at all, but I found something on Reddit that I thought would make for a good patron show, and it was on the Ask Feminists, and written by someone named Utopia Builder, and it's called "Would You Live in an All-Female City?" I'm not going to read any more than that. My audio is robotic. Let me see.
It's reverberating really fast or something, or you may have an echo.
Let me
that's
see.
Like really closely following.
There might be an effect. Let me just check. I'll turn off the I'll check and see. Sometimes there's nothing going on here. Let me see what's going on here.
It sounds like your microphone's not plugged in right.
Really?
Yeah, there's crackling at my end, but I don't know if the audience can hear that.
Oh shit! I checked it, but okay. Let's do this. I'm just gonna I'm gonna do a quick switch of the device, change it with no.
Here we go.
No
that
effects.
Sounds better immediately.
Yep, I changed it. Yep, and I don't know if that's affecting the people watching. So let me do that really quick. Sorry, guys. Apologies for that. So we're just going to go with the normal. There we go. All right. And for some reason, I am only coming out of one side. I don't get that at all. So how can I fix this now?
Only coming out of one side for yourself?
Well, for the people watching. So
oh, really?
See if I can. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but
you're coming through both sides.
It's showing me in OBS. That it's only coming out of one side. So I don't know if that's what you guys hear as well. Yeah, very strange. Let's see if I can change
the chat. Brian is a leftist confirmed. I don't think that's going to allow you to infiltrate the left.
it's crazy, dude. All right, I see, because the thing is, I have it set to mono in voice meter, so I don't see why it's doing that. Guys, I'm sorry about this. So I got a new computer and I had to move everything over, and not everything has gone over completely. It's kind of like a mixed bag, So let's see. Maybe I can change something in here. I don't know if that's gonna work. That's not gonna work. How do I change I want to just make this mono, I don't see how to do it. It's not giving me the option. Okay, so the only other thing I can do is I could either leave it like this for now, because I don't want to spend all day fixing this, or I could switch it back to the other mic with the robot sound. So I don't know what's the lesser of two evils.
Leave it like this. It's fine.
Yeah, the robot sound was really bad. Okay,
I will. And I'm sorry, guys that are watching. There is one more thing I could try. So let's actually have an idea. This is gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome. So I'm gonna add a browser source. I'm gonna call it microphone. B, and then Hit OK, and I'm going to drop my audio in here. Then I'm going to drop this all the way down behind everything so it's hidden. And let me see. Properties. Okay. Now, how does that sound, guys? Is that better? It should be good. Let me know. Otherwise, that sounds amazing. Okay. OBS is really weird about audio. It's insane. Like it took me months.
Do all the things now.
Sorry. Let's do the things. So anyway, would you all live in a all-female city? We're going to talk about in the patron show. If you want to be a part of that, you have to become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. $5 a month will get you into Discord, where you'll be able to watch all the additional content, including after shows and works in progress. You'll be able to hang out in various clubs, and they have movie nights and game nights and all of that good stuff. So that's feedthebadger.com/subscribe to join us. And if you want to send us a message at feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message. This is also a good idea because we will get most of the funds and it doesn't get taken by YouTube or removed or censored or whatever. So that's probably the best way to send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we have been yeeted from the internet, then go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That's where all of our content lives. Okay. So with all that said and all of the difficulties addressed, of which I definitely apologize for, let us now get into today's stories. So first thing we're going to be talking about is this. This is pretty crazy. This is a crazy story that took place in a middle school. You wouldn't think that this kind of stuff would happen with people of this age, but there you go. So, all right, I have to recover my document because I had a crash. Okay, here we go. Police in Surprise, Arizona, that's the name of the place, I'm not making a joke, have successfully headed off an organized murder plot. But what's most shocking in this case are the suspects. At Legacy Traditional School's West Surprise campus, a group of 4 fifth-grade girls ranging in age from 10 to 11 years old. So 5th-grade girls, 10 and 11 years old, 4 of them, planned in cold detail to eliminate a fellow student. Just end him, in their words. That was like the text or one of the messages that was caught by these girls. Just end him, in their words. The similarly aged boy was marked for death after allegedly breaking up or cheating on one of the girls, which is when the other 3 were enlisted to aid in her heinous plan. 11-year-old girls potentially murdering a boy for cheating, suspected cheating. In a plot that was meticulously thought out, one girl would lure the boy to the school's bathroom, or another would be waiting with a knife that was brought to school by one of the other girls. The would-be murderer would make sure to bring and wear gloves as to not leave behind any fingerprints while stabbing the boy to death in the stomach, and the last girl would make a forged suicide note to leave on the body. Thankfully, other students overheard their sinister plan and alerted school staff, who searched their backpacks and questioned each girl individually the following day. Eventually, all 4 girls were arrested and charged with threatening and misdemeanor disorderly conduct. During police interrogation, 3 of the 4 girls cooperated and showed remorse for their actions, but the 4th smiled, laughed, and made up excuses for her actions. The 4 girls have been released into family custody and have been suspended from school pending a likely expulsion. The Surprise Police Department at this time, quote, does not plan to share any further details about this incident, end quote, because it involves minors, 11-year-old girls. So I thought this was crazy, but yeah, go ahead.
It's a spanner in the works that this place is called Surprise. So every time they have to bring up the Surprise Police Department is like it was all surprise well, not surprise sex, but surprise butchering to death and stuff like that. Yeah. There was a case in Britain about 30 years ago, just over. A 2-year-old kid called James Bulger was abducted by a couple of 10-year-olds who stabbed him and left him for dead on a train track. They're the youngest convicted murderers in British history, and this sent chills up the nation's spine because people are under the general assumption that children are innocent and couldn't possibly be capable of these kinds of crimes. And yeah, mostly they're not, but 1% of the population is psychopathic, and that includes children. And every now and again, 2 psychopathic children meet one another, and their bad influence on each other exponentially exacerbates the danger levels, and you get cases like the James Bulger case and the case we're talking about today. When 2 or more psychopaths find each other and are able to work together, what you get is something worse than 2 psychopaths. You get a feedback loop of psychopathy. You get a binary system of black holes orbiting each other faster and faster until something catastrophically, inexorably happens. It's pretty rare, but it's also inevitable as long as 1% of the population is psychopathic. The only thing we can try to do is try not to make more psychopaths and not to make anyone excuse psychopathy. Now, by the sounds of things, this was a case of one psychopath and her 3 minions. Could we have stopped that one girl from being a psychopath? Probably not. Not without medical interventions that haven't been invented yet. Shit happens. Psychopaths happen. Just got to be prepared. But could we have prevented those other 3 girls from providing the feedback loop of positive affirmation to the psychopath in question? Yes. Yes, there are things we can do in that arena. If we could somehow convince girls that it's not okay to hurt boys, that would do wonders, I reckon. Like how it's not okay to hit a girl. If we could take the concept of it's not okay to hit a boy and we try and introduce it into our cultural vocabulary, yeah, that'd be great. I mean, maybe we don't need to teach them this. Maybe they understand it inherently. And the only reason girls have such an irrational hatred of boys is because it is what they are being taught in schools and in universities and in every plasma screen shoved in their faces. They are taught that boys are the bad guys. Boys are stupid. Throw rocks at them. And boys are mean. They'll throw rocks at you because they think you're stupid. So make sure you throw rocks at them first. And if this annoys those boys in some way, it can only be because they hate you and they're mean and they're stupid. Now, I don't know how much of this rhetoric entered the brain of the psychopathic girl in question or her 3 minions, but it's a fair estimation to say it probably did. What with it being what everyone is taught as a matter of curriculum. The further you go up the scholastic ladder, the harder they teach you this shit. With all this talk of stochastic terrorism that's apparently coming from the darkest corners of the internet, I'd like to hear someone holding the education system accountable for what it's teaching children. Do bear in mind, it started in the education system, namely universities, and it spread from there. What has now infected the government and the police force and the army has been feminizing the education system for upwards of a century at this point. Like, every time there's a tragedy involving weapons, the weapons get banned, the physical weapons, but they never ban the psychological weapons. The library of lies that has been pumped into the heads of school children for generations now. Could we tone that down a little bit? I'm not saying you should ban it. Just fucking chill with it. Females are not victims of life, and males are not the enemy that caused this to happen. Can we start from there and work our way out? Probably not. I mean, that's like asking vegetarians not to eat vegetables. Well, okay, I tried. I did my college best to get through to you, and I predictably failed. I really hope something doesn't happen by force anytime soon. That would be just awful. Dr. Random became Motor News, Honey Badger Radio.
So, I'm gonna break your rose-colored glasses here real fast. All right, I'm a mom, raised 3 kids. Children are born feral, just like every other animal. Humans are feral when we start, and we socialize ourselves as we grow up because there's things that our intelligence helps us learn as we go through our lives. And one of them is that life is a lot easier if you navigate conflict in other ways instead of using violence. But it takes cooperation between adults who let kids learn a little bit of that the hard way, and who also tell them and teach them right from wrong, and monitoring of kids for signs of things like developing psychopathy and sociopathy, like Mike was saying, and not molesting their brains with a whole bunch of ideology that is made up. But a lot of people think that little girls are sugar and spice and everything nice. No. So just know that no. The most violent, visceral, feral, brutal thing anybody ever did to me in my whole life was done by a 12-year-old girl when I was 12. I have physical and mental scars from it that will never go away. And I'm not going to describe it. That would get us banned. But I will tell you that that's not the only, like, most of the violence I've experienced in my life has been when I was underage and from other girls. And the worst of it was from other girls. I had somebody fishhook me in the mouth with hands that had been in a sandbox in a public park where cats poop over an empty Faygo bottle that was trash that was picked up off the ground. I picked it up off the ground and was using it to put water in the sand to make sandcastles. And this other girl wanted it. There were other items that she could have picked up and used, but because I had that one, she wanted it. And when I didn't give it to her, that's when she started a fight. Right? And then I stopped that fight, but her sister dragged me down the street by my hair as a result, like in revenge. Mm-hmm. I've been attacked by 4 girls at once as a little girl, and as a teenager, I was attacked by 6. And I myself have been particularly violent in response to all of that. Right? Little girls are not angels. They are developing human beings in the early stages of their lives when they don't know shit from Shinola, and they need intelligent, rational, reasonable instruction and experiences where they are permitted to make mistakes and face the consequences of those mistakes, and then have an adult say, all right, what did you learn? And if they haven't described the correct lessons, to then give them an explanation of what they should have learned and help them understand. And when you have children, boys or girls, that get to the point where they are going to do something like this, it's because every fucking adult in their life has failed them. With boys, it's often just straight up neglect or violent abuse. With girls, it can be that is one way that result happens. But the other one that happens just as often, and it's far less often with boys, is that they get treated like they can do no wrong, like everything they do is okay, like they're the nice and gentle sex, and if somebody complains about their behavior or imposes a natural consequence for their behavior, like self-defense or something like that, that person is the villain and they are not. And our society has had a habit for generations of raising girls to base their self-esteem not on being smart or good at something or nice to people and making a lot of friends or anything like that, but on narcissism. They draw the conclusion, they're supposed to draw the conclusion that they are the most important person. They are the best. They are the most interesting. They are the most fun. And how dare anybody criticize them or reject them? Treat them like they're not the prettiest girl in the room, the smartest girl in the room, the sweetest friend anybody ever had, and the best girlfriend that nobody could ever leave. And you have a percentage of the female population that never grows out of that. You have a huge percentage, actually. That's why there is the only gender that has a saying like this, there is no fury like a woman scorned, is female.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so don't think that this is, a shocker. This is not a shocker to me. I have followed this kind of behavior because of the neighborhood I grew up in. And the neighborhood I grew up in, almost all the girls were either 2 to 4 years older than me or 2 to 4 years younger than me. Right? The girl that fish hooked me in the mouth was 4 years younger than me. I didn't hurt her when I fought back, but because I didn't give up the Fago bottle, her sister decided that I'd bullied her, and that's why I got dragged down down the street by my hair. But yeah, don't assume little girls are just gonna be sweet, innocent little angels and don't have to be taught any of that stuff. If you are raising a girl, it is your job to make sure that she does not turn out to be a psycho bitch from hell. And this is an example of where the failure was exposed when the child was 10 and 11 years old, right? I've read a lot of examples when the failure is exposed between the ages of 13 and 18. A shit ton of examples. There are numerous teenage girls that are convicted of murder. It's just that you don't get to hear about most of them. Most of their cases get, they're juveniles. Most of their cases get, I can't think of the term for it, but it's basically locked down. You don't get access to it. You don't get to. So unless they make what they did makes the news, like the Slender Man killers.
Yeah.
The attempted killers, because I think if I remember right, that girl survived. But
this one, I believe, was just a local news story. It
news story.
It didn't end up on CNN or anything.
CNN,
like that.
Right? But you don't hear about it. But the reality is, if you don't raise your children to understand actions have consequences and socialization, even if you don't plan to be buddy with all the people around you, socialization at least to the degree that you are not hurting people and that you are able to negotiate differences in interests and conflicts and stuff without becoming violent, your children will suffer and the people around them will suffer. And it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls. That's going to happen regardless. The only difference is boys get punished more for it. And people are shocked when the same result happens with girls. The first school shooter in the United States that made national and international headlines was a girl. And what she did was an outcropping of that kind of bad upbringing, abuse and neglect and bad lessons and everything. There's nothing angelic about females. Nothing naturally better or special that makes us grow up not needing that same guidance that boys need. And the horrible situation that we're in economically and socially in all of Western civilization right now has resulted from people making the mistake of believing the sugar and spice myth. So,
Yeah.
You can all get a dust broom and a dustpan for the broken glasses, but if we don't start doing better with girls, we are going to see more of this.
Mm-hmm.
And it also doesn't help to confuse them about everything instead of teaching them math, science, reading, and writing in elementary school.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these girls were 11 years old and they're worried about infidelity to the point of being willing to collude to murder a boy. Again, 11 years old. I don't think you should be thinking about that kind of stuff at that age. But again, makes you wonder, like, how far have we come to the point where, because I know when I did substitute teaching for a while, I did like, fifth, sixth, and seventh grade. And those girls were like talking about stuff that wasn't even on my mind when I was a kid in school. Like in terms of like sexual activity and dating and boys. I mean, that was, when you're right at that age, it's like you're just starting to like, your body's starting to change and maybe you see the opposite sex in a different light a little bit, but you don't really understand it yet. But these girls, and it was the girls.
Well,
the
there is
boys
something else. There's something else I can point out, right? If a girl grows up in an environment where her parents are married, they're happily married, and they work out any differences of opinion or concerns and emotional intensity and stuff in a loving and caring manner and not like fighting like siblings, and their parents are not cheating on each other and their mom isn't taken up with daytime dramas and shit where they're seeing that on TV all the time and stuff, like they don't have those thoughts. They don't think about those things. They don't get obsessed with those things. It's only if they're exposed to it. Children learn what they're exposed to.
Yeah,
so
right.
You kind of have to wonder what those
anything about. Yeah, you have to wonder
what those girls are watching on TV, what they're reading,
right?
And what their parents are like. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we don't know anything about them because they're minors. We just know what happened, so that's all we have to go on. But again, I think that there's definitely a question of, not just how we perceive girls and boys differently in their capacity for, dysfunction or even violence, and also the types of conditions that produce this kind of behavior. These are the questions that I wanted to raise with this story, and I thought it was, again, just shocking that these are very adult things to consider for people so young. Not just the dating and the cheating and the infidelity, but the plan to murder someone. That is crazy for
Another bit of
11-year-old
parental
girls.
advice to prevent this kind of thing: don't let your daughters on social media until they are older than that.
Yeah, for sure. But okay, so I got some
Same thing with
super
your sons.
chows. Yes. Yeah, kids shouldn't. I don't think kids should be on social media.
No,
At least not
it's not
until they're
healthy.
adults. There's a
Yeah.
lot of adults that shouldn't be on social media. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I got to read some super chows and move on. So Great Indoors gave us $10. Thank you, Great Indoors, and says New York City commits Sudoku by democracy, and men choose artificial intelligence over advanced accountability. White guy indifferent. Thank you for that. Yes, those are some of the stories we're covering today. Next, we have Meredith G, who gives us $5 and says, HBR News number 509. Why are we surprised that 10 to 11-year-old girls can act like sociopaths? But given the way female group dynamics, one was the driving force of all this. Yes, that is entirely plausible. Thank you for that, Meredith. You are the top G. And then Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, anyone remember the Seneca Valley high school boy who was falsely accused of rape by his four high school girls and one college-age woman? The ringleader said that the accusation was made because she just didn't like the boy. The accusation led to him being perp walked out of the school, and during the investigation, he was required to have an ankle monitor. There were some additional incidents where he was invited over to fabricate evidence that he was violating his release terms. I think
There
we
was
covered that one when it happened, or at least it's come up in conversation.
It's an instance in the UK where a young adult, I'm actually not sure if she was overage or not, told her sister and her friends that a boy, I believe his name was Luke Hargrave. I'm not sure if I have the right last name, but that he had raped her, and they tracked him down and brutally murdered him. And then she went to the cops and was like, I lied about this, and they went and killed him. I feel bad. And she really didn't get any trouble in comparison to the people that she conned into committing murder, and clearly not in comparison to the victim. Like this is a common, if you go down this rabbit hole, you will lose your faith in humanity. You will never look at females the same.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for that. And thank you guys for your messages. We have to move on to the next story, but let us know what you guys think about this one. All right. So let's now move on to the next story. So we had an election in New York. Zoran Mamdani, the 33-year-old state assembly member who won the Democratic mayoral primary in New York City on June 24th, 2025, has emerged as a polarizing figure due to his staunch democratic socialist platform and bold policy proposals. As a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, Mamdani's advocacy for policies like a rent freeze, free city buses, and sweeping affordable housing initiatives sounds really great, have galvanized progressive voters but drawn criticism from moderates and business interests who view his agenda as fiscally unsustainable. His vocal support for reallocating police funding towards social services, which were inspired by the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, has also sparked controversy, with critics arguing it could compromise public safety in a city still grappling with crime concerns. Mamdani's identity as the son of prominent academics and his elite education at Yale have led some detractors to question his relatability, accusing him of leveraging privilege to champion radical policies while dismissing concerns from more conservative or pragmatic New Yorkers. Further fueling controversy is Mamdani's unapologetic stance on international issues, particularly his criticism of U.S. foreign policy and Israel's actions in Palestine, which has drawn accusations of anti-Semitism from pro-Israel groups, despite his consistent rejection of such claims. That's actually what got him elected, I think. His alignment with progressive leaders like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has made him a lightning rod for critics who fears policies could alienate the city's business community and strain municipal budgets. Supporters, however, praise his commitment to addressing systemic inequality and his ability to mobilize younger and working class voters, as evidenced by his upset victory over Andrew Cuomo in the primary. As Mamdani, I'm sorry, maybe I've been butchering his name this whole time. I'm not doing that on purpose. As Mamdani heads toward the November 2025 general election, so he's not officially mayor yet. His polarizing vision, rooted in transformative change but criticized as impractical, continues to spark intense debate about the future of New York City's governance. And I think that he may have a link to the Justice Democrats, which was like the thing made by the same people who put AOC in the spotlight. She was kind of like constructed. It's like a astroturfed project. Cenk and the Young Turks were behind that as well, if you guys didn't know that. So anyway.
So the filming of Escape from New York begins.
Yes.
Escape from New York 2028 begins now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There are people alive in Western culture today who have not figured out that socialism is stupid. We're in the fuck around stage. We will.
Do you know who doesn't know that, Hannah?
Yeah.
Women.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna put it out there. I think it's
true.
mostly women that don't realize that. Yeah. People
Yep,
who
that
don't
is the case. In fact, social safety nets that drain the economic system are almost universally created and voted in at the behest of women. And this is basically an example of that. The president of the United States that got us started down the path of forever wars during World War I was known as the women's president, even though they couldn't vote for him. So this doesn't surprise me. So I guess, like I said, we're in the fuck around stage. There will be more on this story in the future as we watch New York find out.
All right. Mike, you want to say anything?
I did. I'm starting to think that this is just something that inevitably happens in cities, especially capital cities. I know New York isn't technically a capital. Buffalo is the capital, but New York's the de facto capital of the U.S. Let's be honest. And this is something that inevitably happens in de facto capital cities. Capitals are always the central headquarters of the better than you community. It attracts the pretentious and the precocious and the smug, and it also turns ordinary people into pretentious, precocious, smug gits. I lived in London for 10 years, and I have to say, you really do get this sense of smugness. Like, this matters. Look how famous everything is around here. Ooh la la, and so on. But it's not just smugness. It's a superiority complex. And the group to whom you feel superior is the rest of the country. Basically, the entire country and the people in it, anywhere except in the cultural gravity sink of the capital city. And yes, this is an example of the phenomenon we call oikophobia. It's when you don't like the oiks. It's a sensation most people experience sometimes, just like xenophobia. It's not a crime to have a thought, even a thought driven by fear. Sometimes fear and hatred are necessary reactions. But if you don't rein it in, if you don't cool it with the oikophobia, you'll find yourself following the path of the better than you community into its inevitable destination. Socialism. It's a contract that you sign with yourself so that you can excuse yourself for being a massive grifter. Good morning, wretch. You are poor, but I am better than you because I care about the poor. Now shoo. And it's the same formula in every iteration. Good morning, misogynist. You are a woman, but I am better than you because I care about women. Now shoo. Bro, we've been doing this for decades, right? Now everybody's poor except you, and everybody's a woman, especially you. Your policies have only made everything worse. Are you going to change them at some point? I'm not listening to you. I don't have to because I care about you. Now shoo. Socialism is not a policy, folks. It's a boondoggle. It's a codified grift. It's a mental gymnastics routine performed by dickheads with a superiority complex. As long as there are cities, this problem is going to persist. And it's not as though we can get rid of cities. We can move away from cities, and I would very much recommend that you do, but cities are always going to exist. So what's the solution? I don't know. Apart from abolishing democracy, I don't know. Something holistic, perhaps. If we could just generally recognize that oikophobia is a thing, so we can at least write the title of the thesis against oikophobia. Like how everyone knows what xenophobia is and how dangerous xenophobia can be. Well, oikophobia is far more dangerous and far more prevalent in this day and age. And yet it is completely, comprehensively normalized. To be clear, Zoran Mamdani is not an oikophobe. He is highly loyal and highly patriotic about something, but it's not America at all. But the reason he's so popular is because of the oikophobic scumbags who litter the streets of New York. That's why you're just now getting the tip of the iceberg of the Grand Viziers from Greater Asia worming their way into your political system because of the snot-nosed city slickers who want them here just to rub your noses in it. You can kick out as many illegal invaders as you like, and please do. But you'll still have to deal with the oikophobes, the Americans, whose families have been there for 200 years, but now they've been convinced to hate their own kind. If you want to get rid of all the flies in your house, you can invest in 1,000 cans of Raid, but it's all money wasted if you're not going to address the fact that you live with a mentally ill socialist blue-haired cunt who keeps leaving piles of peanut butter and jelly everywhere. You should be like, please stop smearing apricot jam all over the kitchen. It's attracting flies. And I'm going, yeah, but I want to attract flies. Flies are better than humans. And because I believe that, I'm better than you. But that doesn't even make any sense. No, you And yeah, that's what it's going to be like, trying to reason with these negative IQ socialists. But that's what you need to hit. The fact that Zoran Mamdani is brown is not the problem. The fact that he's a Marxist is the problem. And you already had that problem deeply embedded in the system. You need to gut it before it's too late, like it already is too late for Europe. Feels good to be back in the USA. Feels good to be somewhere that still has hope. God bless you all, and please defeat communism. Obi-Wan, you're our only hope.
The only thing I wanted to say, well, I do have a couple things to say about this. First of all, Men of New York, you did this once in 2024. You need to do this again to save your city, because you need to like come out of your houses and you to vote for somebody who's not going to destroy it. You may have to deal with somebody who's like not anti-Israel, but come on, put your priorities together. Do you want to have a city that works, or do you want but in exchange you get like somebody who shills for Israel, or do you just want all of it to burn down because anything but that? This is the thing that I want to say is that the other candidates, at least the ones that were, in the primary that were running against this guy, the thing that probably killed them was they were all asked if there was any country they would like to go to, which would it be? And most of them, for whatever reason, said Israel, except this guy who said, I love New York. Now, of course, he's lying, but he knew what to say that was going to get him to score the points. And it's crazy the other guys didn't like clue in on that. But I don't know. I don't live in New York. I live in Virginia because fuck big cities. But the thing is that he played to the crowd. They ate it up and it worked. But that doesn't make him a good candidate. It does not make him a good politician. He will destroy the city. And so it's like, which one is the one you want? So like Men of New York, get your priorities together. Look at what matters. Look to your families, your friends, your community, the people around you, your job, your life, and ask yourself, like, do I want all of this to burn down, or do I want to do something about it? Now, when the U.S. had an election in 2024, men came out in like higher numbers than in most elections, and they just shut down the women's vote, which is ultimately what most elections, at least the big ones throughout for as long as women have been voting, almost all of the elections were aimed at getting women to vote. And usually men will just vote in line with them. And as more and more single women emerge, then the single women became a voting bloc, which is what they were up until like this, up until today. It's a single block of single women, single mothers, things like that, right? And the men finally said, you know what? No, I don't want the city overrun with illegals. I don't want eggs to cost $10. I want to be able to afford to fill my tank. I want to be able to afford to buy a house. I want to be able to work. I want to be able to own my own business. I'm going to vote for Trump. And they did. They voted on the money, because that's what everyday people out here, they don't give a shit what's happening in some other part of the world. They care about what's happening in their backyard, in their home. And that's why they get involved locally as well as nationally. So I hope the Men of New York are paying attention when it comes to that, and they get up and they say something, and they speak with their vote. And maybe someone will even say, I want to run, and I'm going to basically like be, the candidate that the city needs. Maybe, I don't know. The other thing too is that once it came up, the topic of, I think it was to do with the protests going on college campuses. Okay. And I was saying that the methodology or the reasoning behind leftist protesting Israel, the Israel-Palestine thing, and there's a difference between the way the left does it, or what the impetus for that is, and the way the right does it. Now, or at least the people on the right that are not pro-Israel types. That usually is like
and pretty much everybody else that's people. Not left, too.
Yeah,
like,
the left and the non-left is what I'm saying. But the people, yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is that I tried to say that there is different causal reasons. Okay, there's a different impetus. So like, there are the people who are like Dave Smith or Candace Owens that are like, I am against the wars in the Middle East. Or Steve Bannon is another one who said this. I'm against these wars because I don't want us getting involved with foreign wars. I don't think we should be supporting Israel on these grounds. And it's a bunch of stuff dealing with the money and the death and, all of the political shenanigans and the involvement of their governments and the way that they're paying people off and that. Okay. So it comes purely from this is what is, at least in my mind, reasonable. And this is where I stand on it too. But the college kids don't have that mindset. Their problem with it is that it is a lot. Their problem with Israel is that to them, Israel's aligned with the United States and they hate the United States. So it's a different thing. It's like the reasoning is that, this country big, this country small, just like Kamala Harris said, big country bad, small country good. That's the way the left sees it. I don't care if you happen to line up with them, like you both landed on the same square, that's fine, but you didn't get there the same way. That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
If a monkey accidentally answers a math question correctly, that doesn't mean the monkey knows math. That means a monkey just made a mark and it just happens to look like the right answer. So that's the thing. So like what I'm saying with this, why this matters is because Zoran is just saying what he thinks is going to get him elected. What he really believes doesn't even matter. And there are people who are so emotionally invested in this thing that they'll go along with it purely because he seems to be sympathizing with them without considering what the other impacts of that will be. So I think that we have to, if we're going to be looking at foreign conflicts like this, and we're like anti-war, we have to take that into consideration. We have to be rational. We should not side with people just because they hate the same people we hate, because they may hate them for different reasons. They may hate them because they actually hate us. And that's not the same. Okay? And we should also be, let's say, like, get your priorities together. Like when you look at why you want to support an individual, there should be a list of priorities. Like, okay, what is, because that's what most people are going to do. And they're not bad people for doing that. If somebody says, I'm voting for this guy because he's going to make my life easier, he's going to remove obstacles, he's going to do these things, whatever, that doesn't make him a bad person because that same person happens to support something that you don't like. So you have to be like, take that into consideration. It's not black and white. People are just not that way. And so, but that's what I wanted to say about that. The whole like thing going on with Israel and Gaza and Palestine and Iran and all that, that is, first of all, it's a world away, and most people don't care about that. They're worried about just getting through the day because they have jobs and bills and families to support, etc. And the other thing is that there is a rational way to criticize and not let it get you bent out of shape. Because if, like, for example, if you have regrets about Trump being in office, do you think that we wouldn't still be dealing with this shit if we got Kamala Harris? Or do you think things would have been better? Can you honestly tell me you think that things would be better? I don't think things are bad, actually. I think that you're just blackpilling because you want to bitch about something. But if we had Harris and Walz, do you really think things would be better? I think we'd be way, way worse off. But anyway,
yeah, we would actually be in really deep shit right now.
Yeah, we would be in super deep shit with the war with Ukraine. We'd be pouring money into that. We would be like,
it wouldn't be that nice. It would not be that nice. Kamala Harris would not be running the country.
No,
the people that would be running the country,
it would be the deep state. Yeah,
right. The people that would be running the country would be the ones who want to round up young men in the United States and send them overseas to war. That's it. There would not be, this discussion back and forth that we would have another Vietnam. And I can say that with confidence because that is where we were headed. In fact, we were headed toward 3 or 4 of them, and a significant risk of nuclear war. Right? We weren't just headed for a minor problem. We weren't just headed for something that's no different than, like what's been going on for years and years. And I think they knew it. They were preparing pretty much to destroy the world. So yeah, this sort of hatred of the result that we got, that people being upset that men outvoted women, that is It's bullshit. And there's something else that needs to be said too, because yes, there is a single mom voting block, but the fact is, it's not just single moms. All right, it's not just uh, women who have made bad choices. Women who are comfortable historically have done shit like this, voted in some dipshit who is going to make all the wrong decisions and is going to destroy the area that he is in charge of. Right? And if you look historically at who the feminist movement was, the actual boots on the ground feminist movement, it started with privileged, wealthy wives of men who were movers and shakers, not single moms, women who felt guilty about being comfortable and basically wanted to give the bank away because they felt guilty themselves. Women feel guilty when they're happy, and they pull shit like this. So you can't let even even right-wing women off the hook. Like, yes, there is a single mom voting block. No, they're not solely responsible for this. This is a female voting habit issue in general. And women need to either learn to take responsibility for their vote or quit. Shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't claiming that they were the only block. I was just saying that
No,
it's
no.
like
But I
the
wanted to
single,
clarify
they're
because
creating, that's fine.
I think
They're
there's
creating
people
single
in our
moms.
audience that do think there's a big difference.
The people in the audience, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. But I think that they're creating a block. So basically, the more single moms or the single women or whatever, the women married to the government, the more of those you produce, and you could do it over the course of generations, then they grow and grow, and then they grow across generations, and they become like a larger. It's like a hump on like a larger beast, right? But it's like a big hump. So what all you need is enough like people, could be men and women, hopefully, that are going to basically like be reasonable and make a smart decision. So that's what I'm saying. But anyway, with that said, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. It's still early days. We'll see how it goes. But possibly you might want to consider relocating out of New York City if this guy gets in. So maybe make plans and have them prepared. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats or super chows really quick before I move on. No, nothing yet. All right, let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Let's move on to the next one. So Johnny Depp is back in the news, and I wanted to follow up. So this is after the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. You guys might know that Johnny Depp lost a lot of work because of the allegations and following court cases that came out of this. And in June of 2025, in an interview, despite the fact that he won his other case against Amber Heard in the court of Virginia and lost his case to the Sun, Johnny Depp was doing an interview with the Sunday Times. And he described himself as, quote, a crash test dummy for #MeToo, end quote, reflecting on the domestic abuse allegations made by his ex-wife Amber Heard in 2016, which preceded the broader #MeToo movement sparked by Harvey Weinstein in 2017. Depp suggested that his highly publicized legal battles, including a 2020 UK libel case against The Sun and a 2022 US defamation trial against Amber Heard, positioned him as an early target of the movement's scrutiny, claiming he, quote, sponged it, took it all in, end quote, to test the industry's loyalty. He expressed frustration with former allies, specifically mentioning 3 unnamed individuals who, quote, did me dirty, end quote, by not supporting him, implying their fear of making the, quote, right choice, end quote, amidst the pre-Me Too climate shaped his sense of betrayal. Depp's comments have stirred controversy for their inaccuracy and perceived insensitivity, according to critics. who note that the hashtag #MeToo movement, founded by Tarana Burke in 2006, predated his legal issues, and his narrative of victimhood overlooks the significant public support he received during the trials compared to Heard's widespread harassment. This is what the critics of Johnny Depp are saying, not me. He
I
framed
got a
his
few things to say
decision-
about that.
Yeah, he framed his decision to pursue the 2022 trial as a fight for truth, stating the following, quote, "If I don't try to represent the truth, it will be like I've actually committed the acts I'm accused of," end quote, emphasizing the personal stakes for his reputation and family, which, by the way, as someone who interviewed a friend of his a while back, who acted with him on the set of Pirates of the Caribbean, his name is Greg Ellis, and I had him on the show. He personally told me, again, this is from Greg Ellis's mouth, that Depp's whole thing was not about the money. He just wanted to clear his name. But anyway, so despite professional setbacks like losing roles in Fantastic Beasts and Pirates of the Caribbean, Depp insisted that he has no regrets and is moving forward with projects like Day Drinker, while critics argue his crash test dummy claim dismisses the movement's broader fight against systemic abuse.
This is like when Chloe Roma goes all like, "I'm the first men's rights advocate to ever talk about this. I'm the only men's rights advocate to ever talk about this." And I'm like, honey, I don't know why this brings out my catty gay side, but it does. Honey, I've been doing this shit since you were sucking your mother's dick. Okay? I've left clumps of sperm crusting over in a landfill that is older than you. Okay? And and those spermatozoa have done more for men's rights than you ever have, you fucking poser. You astroturfed mascot of a fucking containment project. Get to fuck, get beyond fuck, and get to where the fuck goes to die. And while I say that to you, there are other people who could say the same about me. Because I'm, whatever. There have been people fighting against institutionalized misandry since your great-grandparents were sucking their mother's dicks. If there's anything I hate more than the better than you community, it's the Johnny-come-lately community. Well, all right, I hate the apocalyptic.
I built this community.
I hate the apocalyptic communists the most, the ones who caused this rift in the first place. But there's a special place in my heart for the Johnny-come-latelys. And yes, that does include this particular Johnny. Crash test dummy my ass, Johnny. Do you have any idea, Mr. Depp, how many men have been fed into this meat grinder that lies before you? Men who don't have the advantage in the court of public opinion of being adored by millions of shallow, hypergamistic women. The millions of men who were indeed treated like crash test dummies, like plastic facsimiles of real human beings, thrashed violently against the brick walls of this feminist progress. Most of them are dead, Johnny. Most of them died unceremoniously in a closed casket before an empty funeral pyre, having never been defended, never had their names cleared of the false allegations that hounded them to their graves. You are not a crash test dummy, Mr. Depp. What you are is one of the first cases of the feminist dinosaur descending on a man who most women consider to be human. It's pretty much just you and Brad Pitt. You're the only men to be considered a 10 by the majority of women. And even you, Johnny, even you had to struggle your way through a 6-year legal nightmare just to clear your name. Please, my dude, please try and imagine what life is like for the other 99.99999% of men out here who have been sacrificially burning on the altar of feminism since long before your mother was sucking her mother's dick. I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate you fighting back against this Leviathan. It's all I could ever ask of you, but don't come at us like you're spearheading everything. You've only just discovered what happens when the red pill is forced down your throat. Have some respect for those of us who took it of their own volition before it was too late. And yeah, fucking leave Hollywood, bro. Just fucking leave it. Fuck getting acting roles. You don't need them. Hollywood is a den of degenerate nonsense. Get the fuck out of there and enjoy your retirement. Live the dream like we all wish we could. Be a crash test dummy for the good life. It'll go swimmingly. Trust me.
You know, I just real quick, Johnny Depp is 62 years old. Why are we still calling him Johnny? Like, shouldn't it be like Jonathan at this point or something?
No.
I know. But like 62 years old, Johnny? Really? Okay.
Well, I mean, when did we stop calling Johnny Carson Johnny?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's
ever.
True. But that's it's just kind of diminutive.
It's a matter of taste, I think. But like somewhat like the difference between going by a shortened version and a longer version of one's name, right? Greg and Gregory, things like that. But the thing about this is he's partly right. Obviously, he's overstating his not his experience, but the significance of his experience in a culture. But he was one of the most visible cases where the system's inequalities were defeated rather soundly when the evidence was visible to the general public. And there was a lot more debate over Depp's case, for instance, than there was over, say, Cosby's case or Weinstein's case in Hollywood, right? But if you step out of Hollywood, the little plastic bubble, and you go to DC, this is old hat, except it's usually sexual abuse allegations, and it goes back forever. Sexual abuse allegations have been used to tank people's careers, get revenge, blackmail, and so on in government against politicians forever. Like, you go back before there was such a place as DC to when it was kings and queens and emperors and empresses and so on, you still had those types of allegations being used to destroy people. Right? That's been a thing forever. On the other end of it, I will say the people that criticized him by saying that hashtag Me Too was started in 2006 by what's her name? Gosh, I can't find it in here. Some chick that didn't start. Some chick that didn't start hashtag Me Too. The first tweet.
Oh! You're talking about KRS-One. Okay. Her name is I call her KRS-One, but I have it here. Tarana Burke is the name that you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but the first tweet to hashtag Me Too was sent on October 15th, 2017. 11 years after they're claiming it was created by this woman. and it was posted by Alyssa Milano, who started it after the hashtag, or after the Harvey Weinstein case started, like the allegations began surfacing. So it really had nothing to do with this other woman. She might have talked about, this in public places, but there was no, like, Twitter started in 2006. There were no hashtag movements. There wasn't enough use of it in 2006 for there to be a movement. It wasn't like that. Um, and so this it's bullshit. Like the whole thing is bullshit. But the other aspect of this that I really wanted to rant about, like, every guy that goes through this really publicly, they all have the same kind of response. Like, this never happened to anybody else before. Like, they haven't paid attention. And men that I've spoken to that have gone through this far less publicly, because nobody really goes through it privately. They all get gossiped about in their social groups. They all have their family members and their employers, and if they're in an educational institution, their classmates, and they all end up hearing about it. Nobody goes through this privately, but not everybody's case makes the news. Not everybody gets headlines. Not everybody gets talked about extensively on social media by people who never heard of them before the case, or who were fans or friends or whatever, from a great distance, right? But every famous person or news-making person, that goes through this, they have a great platform where they can step up and say, there are thousands of men that are subjected to this. If the system that exists can do this to somebody who is wealthy and famous and universally loved, popular, remembered well, what could it do to some guy who is just Joe Blow walking down the street, unknown by most people, and targeted by a woman? And I don't hear any famous man say that, except Bill Cosby.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that I've heard speak up and say, if this is happening to me, what's happening to men who have no platform? And by the way, Cosby, his case was overturned. They found that he was done dirty by the system. His due process rights were violated. Right? And he was talked into accepting an allegation on the basis that it couldn't hurt him and it wasn't worth fighting. And then it was used against him by that system illegally, when he probably would have fought that allegation, and he never got the real opportunity to do so if he had known that that would be done to him. So men who are famous need to start stepping up and saying, this isn't just this one crazy woman. This isn't just this one bad judge. This isn't just this one area of the country where everything is nuts. This isn't just the tabloid media. This is the establishment. This is any woman who decides she wants to do this. And this is happening to men everywhere all over the world. And men who go through this privately go through horrible psychological ordeals. They lose money that, like, if you've got millions coming out of your pocket and you lose a lot of money, what sounds like a lot of money to somebody like me or the average Joe, it sounds like a bigger deal to us than it really is, because a lot of us can't afford to lose $20. All right. And a lot of men who go through this, not so privately, but not in the mainstream news, not famously. They don't get help from people. They don't have people on social media supporting them. They don't have people writing to them and saying, I believe you. They have maybe a handful of friends and family who see through the woman's shit, and a shitload of people gaslighting them, and a system that drains their wallets, makes some of them homeless, puts some of them in jail for years with no crime having been committed other than the lies being told about them, and causes many of them to commit suicide. And I've been a fan of Depp for a long time, and love the guy. There have been things that I've watched. The only reason I watched them was because Johnny Depp was in them, and I'm sad that he couldn't see through the bubble and stand up and say, this shouldn't be happening to anyone. Not famous people, not private citizens, not your average Joe, not men who, quote, can afford it, and certainly not men who can't, and not boys. This happens to children. This happens to little boys who don't even understand what's going on. Like, it's really time, for men to step up and demand that en masse. Talk about this as something that is a systemic, widespread, establishment-led, women-caused, because women voted for this. Women celebrated the Violence Against Women Act like it was a victory, when it was one of the biggest attacks on due process rights in American history. I mean, This is a women-caused issue. And men who are universally loved by women, like Johnny Depp, could have appealed to women all over the country to start supporting legal reform instead of, I understand men who go through this are traumatized, and there is a desire to talk about what was done to you when you're traumatized, and condemn, your attacker, your wrongdoer, and tell people what you've been through. But when you have a big platform, because you are a big name, and I know it's a hard, like a hard ass thing to say to somebody, but your trauma is an opportunity that gives you a responsibility to take other traumatized people under your wing in at least that one manner, right? To say, this is bigger than me, and we have an opportunity to do something about it. And everybody that listens to me, I want you to participate in a pressure campaign for reform.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I will say that I am glad that Johnny Depp didn't end up doing the groveling thing where he basically asked for forgiveness or whatever. At least he took a stand and tried to clear his own name. And I think that this would have been a very big win for feminism if he had buckled, because he was they take down the biggest targets, right? He's a massive target. And the fact that it wasn't actually a lot of women got behind him too, this is a big plus as well, because it means that there were at least some decent women that were this is, not okay. Now, it could just be because they like Johnny Depp and they don't want to see him in a bad light. But I think that as the trial went on, I think people got red pilled by it. And, we covered what happened to Oliver Anthony a while back, and we talked about Bill Cosby at length, and it looks like he's going to beat his case, or he already has. Harvey Weinstein is going to beat his case as well. Like due process. That's it. Like that's all we want is due process, and maybe not slandering people in the media, and let things fall, let the chips fall where they may after that. But let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I look forward to seeing your thoughts. So let's move on to the last story. So we have this is kind of an interesting thing. It doesn't really surprise me, but some people were surprised by this. So recent trends indicate that men are increasingly turning to artificial intelligence, particularly chatbots like ChatGPT, for mental health support, driven by the anonymity, accessibility, and non-judgmental nature of these platforms. A Harvard Business Review study highlights that therapy and companionship are among the most frequent uses of generative AI globally, with millions of the 400 million weekly ChatGPT users seeking emotional support. Men, who often face societal stigma around expressing their emotions, find AI a safe place to discuss issues like depression, anxiety, or loneliness without fear of judgment, as noted in posts on X, where users like @Charles09281156 praise AI for its unbiased responses. A 2025 Dartmouth study showed significant symptom improvement in users with depression and anxiety using AI chatbots, though its small sample size, which is only about 100 people or so, underscores the need for clinician oversight. Economic investment in AI mental health startups, with $700 million in funding in early 2024, reflects growing reliance on these tools amid a shortage of human therapists, with only one mental health clinician per 340 people in the US. Okay, but this has raised concerns, particularly from the mental health, like say, profession itself, about the safety of AI. Studies such as one from Stanford in 2025 revealed that AI chatbots can perpetuate harmful stereotypes, particularly towards conditions like schizophrenia, and may reinforce delusional or suicidal thoughts by failing to challenge distorted thinking, as seen in cases where bots like Character.ai exacerbated users' mental health crises, which is not really what the article that I was looking at was talking about per se. Because it was like they're saying there's character AI, so like AI relationships or friendships. That's not the same as the article that I was looking at that basically said that men in particular were more likely to go, or there are more men going to AI to get like advice or therapeutic support rather than therapists. And the reasoning is because the men are not finding that therapists like are helpful for them in most cases. A Prevention magazine study noted that users often find AI responses impersonal, with generic phrases like "you have handled difficult situations before," feeling disconnected. Ethical issues, including data privacy and the lack of human empathy, remain significant hurdles, with the American Psychological Association labeling unregulated AI mental health support a dangerous trend. While AI offers scalability and accessibility, experts emphasize it should complement, not replace, human therapists, with ongoing research needed to address biases and ensure safe, evidence-based applications.
I'm going to jump on this really quick because there are 2 points that very, very important points that need to be made here. And the first one is supported by another news story published in a publication called Futurism. The headline: people are being involuntarily committed and jailed, I guess, after spiraling into ChatGPT psychosis. So ChatGPT psychosis involves paranoia, delusions, and psychotic breaks. It has led to the breakup of marriages. It has led to job loss, people being estranged from their families. It has led to people becoming homeless because of an obsession with ChatGPT. And this is men and women. It's not gendered. And this is not a solution to the ills that are chasing men away from mental health treatment, right? The solution has 3 parts. The first one is the undoing of women taking away men's single-sex spaces. We hear all day, every fucking day, about how important it is for women to have women-only spaces that men can't go into because women are scared of men and blah, 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 blah. The same women, by the way, who in surveys admit that about 50% of them, pretty close to 50% of them, have entered the men's restroom when there's a line for the ladies or other minor inconveniences, knowing they're going in where there are urinals, and therefore the users of those restrooms, the legitimate users of those restrooms, are exposed. They have naked exposure in there. Women have sued to get into men's locker rooms where they shower, and then complained that men being naked in men's naked spaces is sexual harassment because women have a right to be in there without seeing naked men. Can you imagine somebody claiming they have the right to come into your bathroom, your shower, and be in there with you and have you not be naked? Like, that's it's your space. Well, that's basically what men have been going through for decades. And before that, women sued for access to men's clubs, men's organizations. Men are not allowed within society to gather in groups and just work with each other and have camaraderie and fraternity without female supervision and female interference and female nagging and feminizing of the environment to make women comfortable, because they can't be comfortable in an environment that is simply rational and straightforward. So the first change that needs to be made is, if women are going to demand male-free spaces, it has to come at the price of women accepting that men have a right to female-free spaces. No women allowed, no girls allowed. Bring back fraternity. And there cannot be any compromise of that. Men have a right to demand that. And if you care about each other, you will. That's the first thing. The second thing is, historically, when suicide was less common, women supported the men in their lives. Maybe not as much as men are capable of supporting each other, but they at least knew better than to tear down their partners and their siblings and their fathers and their sons, their coworkers, their neighbors. They recognized that when men did good things in their community, when men contributed to women's welfare, it deserved women's appreciation and reciprocal nurturing. Like, maybe we can't fix the roof, but when you're done, we can cook you a hot meal that'll be ready when you come in, and you can sit down and relax and eat. And we can say thank you instead of fuck you. Right? That would be nice. And I think there is a significant portion of the crisis in men's mental health that is caused by women's bitchy, vindictive, for no reason, by the way, animosity instead of support. So the second part of this is that women have to step up and give a rat's ass about their fellow human beings and start treating them like human beings, and stop treating them like extra characters in your own personal main character story that can be socially manipulated and lied about and mistreated for your own purposes. And the third thing is, yes, mental health care is necessary. There are biologically caused mental health conditions, and there are circumstantially caused mental health conditions that are the mental health version of having a heart attack or a broken bone or a stroke or a cold, a virus, a disease, and you need medical professional help to fix those. But our mental health system is infected with a mind virus called feminism, and it needs to be completely evicted because you cannot treat men's mental health by subjecting them to misandry. You can't. It doesn't work. You can't fix people by hating them. It doesn't work. So, this is a bad thing. This fleeing to AI, which is unpredictable, doesn't care about it's basically like fleeing to Cthulhu for help. Right? Talking to a brick wall for help and imagining, a code in the bricks that fixes you. It's not good. It's very bad. And it is a symptom of how wrong everything is in our society. Bring back fraternity. Bring back accountability in how women treat men. And get feminism the fuck out of mental health. Or deal with the fact that men are going to die.
All right. I want to read this one super chat and Rumble rant before I let Mike talk, just because they're going to disappear from my social stream ninja. So Albatross gave us $5 and said, therapists treat men like they need to be reprogrammed to be allies and their own issues don't matter. Maybe the AI is a safer-ish option. Thank you for that, Albatross. Yeah, I mean, like, there's a reason why they're going there. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but they're not getting help anywhere else. NovaFan21 gives us $1 Rumble rant. Thank you, NovaFan, and says, experts warn the dangers of replacing verified therapists with ChatGPT include not blaming toxic masculinity for all of men's problems, validating men's problems, not siphoning men's income. Well, there's that. It's like cheap. And AI could take away therapists' jobs. And the thing is, too, is if I believe that depending on which AI you use, they'll probably try to bring up toxic masculinity, but you can at least debate the AI on that. So there is that as well. Okay, so thank you for those messages. Mike, did you want to say anything about this?
Yeah. I mean, the question comes down to, why don't women need AI for company?
Because they have SSRIs.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of them do. I'm sure some of them are just as susceptible as men are when it comes to an intelligence that will tell them what they need to hear. But if the general trend is that women tend to get what they need from organic men, and yet men do not tend to get what they need from organic women, that would insinuate something. Some might say that what it insinuates is that men need too much. Men need more than a woman can possibly supply. But another interpretation would insinuate that what men want is really rather simple. They want peace. They want harmony. They want lineage. But they are not getting this from any of the women they encounter in their everyday interactions, because those women have been conditioned to want more. Just more. No matter how much they're getting, they want more. Maybe the conditioning of which I speak is not even conditioned. Maybe it's in women's nature to want more. Like, even when they live in the Garden of Eden with everything they could ever dream of having, they still want more. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's a driving force that has driven us to achieve the technological marvels that have made our lives so awesome. But there is always the question of when has it gone too far? Well, I would say it's gone too far when the technological marvels have overtaken women as the best counterpoint that men have. And that doesn't mean that technology has gone too far. It means that women haven't come far enough. It's please just do better, ladies. It's not difficult. Just be nice to us, like we're nice to you. That thing where we don't call you rapists 24/7. That's a good place to start. We like having companions in this world who we don't call rapists 24/7. It's something of a turn on. We will swipe right on anyone who doesn't call us rapists. Good luck with your endeavors in trying to appeal to men. Just don't call us rapists. Dr. Random Account Mounted News, Honey Badger Radio. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, seems pretty straightforward, but it's probably not going to happen. So, but anyways, so that's that story, and let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. Now it's time to go into the patron show because we're done with the news. So if you guys want to join us in the patron show to check out this Reddit post and the thread that followed called "Would You Live in an All-Female City?" on the Ask Feminists. I don't know what's in this. I have a feeling it's going to be crunchy cringe. So if you want to join us for that, become a Badger by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription for less than the price of a cup of coffee. You can hang out with us in all of our patron shows and in the Discord itself, which is a great little community where we have lots going on, lots of activities and various events. So please consider doing that. And with all that said, I want to thank you guys for coming to the show. I want to thank Mike for helping me with the write-ups of these stories. I want to thank Hannah and Mike for sharing their insights on all of these topics and giving it the Badger treatment, as we like to say. And with all that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we'll talk to you guys. Well, wait a minute. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.